Welcome back. You're watching Daybreak here on the Rise News channel. Time for the paper review this morning. And we are joined by Akeregha, a member of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Akeregha. Well, let's look at the front pages and see what they're saying first. This day, the bold headline there, President Bola Tinubu says hunger, poverty will soon be a thing of the past in Nigeria. He was speaking in Rio de Janeiro. He says livestock development program will curb herder farmers clashes, seals $2.5 billion deal with Brazilian meat packer JBS company to build 6 factories in Nigeria. President says move will transform tragedy, hopelessness into economic opportunity. Edun says petrol subsidy removal, multiple exchange rates, elimination saved Nigeria a whopping $20 billion. Very quickly, Supreme Court nullifies National Lottery Act, says law exclusive of state houses of assembly. Textile revival hope dims as imports overwhelm sector. Foreign investors transactions on NDX rises by 156% to 744.34 billion naira. And of course, the leading photograph there is paying final respects to, I believe, my glasses failed me this morning. Yes, I think it was the wife of the Akwa Ibom governor, the first lady that was being buried yesterday. Yes. So let's go to the big story, Mr. Akeregha, this morning. Tinubu says hunger, poverty will soon be a thing of the past. Should we say hallelujah to that?
Well, it's almost becoming a mantra, really. The government has been assuring Nigerians that its reforms will soon bear fruit, and has been asking Nigerians to be a bit patient, and that the reforms will bear fruit very soon. Now, this one that is coming out, particularly with again, a fresh reassurance coming from the presidency that hunger, poverty will soon be a thing of the past. It is a bit related to, of course, related directly to the lead story of this day, the one that talks about JFB, the Brazilian meat packer company.
Livestock investment.
Yes, that is coming to build 6 factories in Nigeria. The factories are expected to concentrate on processing and packing, that is cattle, pork, and poultry.
Yes.
Maybe they will spread the factories across the geopolitical. I don't really know.
We don't have the details yet.
We don't have the details yet. But if that happens, that is going to create employment. That is going to be an immediate catalyst for economic rejuvenation of that sector of the economy. But on the flip side of it, if you look at the report very well, the Brazilian company is also talking about sanitary conditions and the regulatory framework, to ensure that the business survives. So that places the burden on the Nigerian government. But for me this morning, I would rather look at, well, security. I must say that the government has done quite a lot in the area of security. But energy, electricity supply, constant, reliable and sustainable power supply that would drive that investment. It's about 2.5 billion or so investment. That is huge investment coming from the Brazilians. So, but they're also asking that the government needs to put in place some of those things, which I think is quite apt, is appropriate to safeguard those investments.
Indeed.
From Brazil, it is good.
Yes. Most importantly, the farmer headers crisis.
That it will help to solve it. That has been a perennial issue, really, and successive governments have not been able to deal with it. The numbers of lives, they are already in thousands if you look at it, cutting across the food belt of Nigeria from Katsina, Plateau, Benue. It's been a huge crisis in the last 8 years, with so many farmers killed, and some of the herders themselves also lost their lives. But again, it wasn't so. If you look at historically in Nigeria, there were really no serious farmers-herders clashes until about 2015, when former President Muhammadu Buhari opened the borders and said, he was given vent to the ECOWAS Treaty of free movement of persons and goods, and that encouraged a whole lot of herders from other West African countries from Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger. They just poured it on. And they don't understand the culture of the people. They also think that there are no boundaries. So that exacerbated the conflict. So it is good that President Tinubu is dealing with it with this ministry. It is something that I think that can indeed proffer some solutions. A potential legacy if he's able to fix that. Yes, absolutely.
Let's turn to the Vanguard this Saturday morning. They are leading with cyber crime. Court remands 109 foreigners in prison for alleged hacking, accused from China, Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam. 5 Brazilians seek separate trial. What do you make of this story?
Well, the 109, they are all Asians. If you look at the
Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, what's going on?
And all of that. So how did they get into the country in the first place? How did they get visa entry to the country? What was the nature of the business that they were coming to do in the country? That
and who is monitoring them? I mean, Nigeria is open for business, but then what do you do when you get here?
When they get here, that is it. So, but it is good that the police has done a good job. That is cyber crime unit of the police. They were able to track them, arrest them, and they have arraigned them. But I just hope that it will not become the case of the Binance executives who were also accused of a similar crime. And we all know what happened. One escaped, the other one allegedly pressure from
international diplomacy.
Exactly, and was let off the hook. Again, if you also read that report carefully, you find that even the police does not have enough holding facility. Because I read the comment of their lawyers, a senior advocate who represented about 100 of them or so, and said they were sitting on staircases and sitting around.
He was even asking for interpreters.
Exactly, and was saying it is better they are transferred to a correctional center. But the Brazilians among them, incidentally, Brazil is investing in Nigeria, and then we also have Brazilians involved in cyber crime. They were asking that apparently the volunteers of statement to the police, and they're asking that they don't want to be detained with those people because their life would be at risk. But overall, what this simply tells us is that it's not only Nigerians that are involved in cyber crime, because we also have the Yahoo or what we call it in this country. In the country, we have a whole lot of Chinese people. China is really having a chunk of investment in Nigeria. A chunk of population of Chinese people are in this country, and not all of them are doing legitimate business. So I think the police, the Department of State Security, and other security services has to beam their searchlight on some of these foreigners who are here doing illicit businesses that is also endangering our economy and reducing the competitive value of our currency.
Indeed. I mean, look at the mining sector. Every time you hear about illegal mining and people being arrested,
they are the same people.
It's Chinese committing this crime. So you do have a point. Let's quickly move to, although on the Vanguard, there's a story about the CCT chairman sack, who was recently sacked. And here's a senior lawyer who is saying that the Senate goofed in removing him. I wonder if you have a comment on that before we flip over to another paper this morning.
Well, I think the senior advocate is wondering whether the Senate can actually sack a judge, because he's a judge. He's a judge of the Code of Conduct Tribunal. I was thinking it's the NJC that would recommend this sack or dismissal, as it were. But I do not know when.
Well, that the president had nominated someone else to take over that position.
Of course, that was Idris. The former CCT chairman was Idris. Of course, he was also involved in all kinds of controversy. Remember the former CJ Justice Walter Onoge, and who has been discharged and acquitted by the RP court. Most people have the belief that the removal of Justice Onoge at the time was politically orchestrated and motivated. And of course, the former CCT tribunal chairman simply played along, and that was not good enough. So his removal is long overdue. But whether it is the Senate that has the responsibility to do that,
that's one of
that. I think that is what the Sun is talking about.
Okay, so let's go to the Punch this morning. It's leading with Simon Ekpa. Nigerians in Finland panic as search for sponsors begin. Detention excites IPOB, Masub, indifferent. So Simon Ekpa's arrest in Finland surfaced during the week. There have been diverse reactions to it. Punch is reporting that IPOB is excited by the detention and that Masub is indifferent about it. The Nigerian presidency has been silent, but the Nigerian army has been speaking. They are also excited and they feel he should be extradited. There's another conversation about whether he can be extradited or not.
Well, it's an interesting development. If you look at the role of Simon Ekpa over some period now, he is alleged to be inciting violence in the southeast, southeast region. A lot of people tie him to IPOB, but IPOB is disowning him this morning. And Masob, really, some people also think that he has some link to Masob. That is movement for the actualization of the sovereign state of Biafra.
But hasn't he been a factional leader issuing sit-at-home orders? Because we recall that
for IPOB.
For IPOB,
Since the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu.
Exactly. So because Nnamdi Kanu has dissociated himself with sitting at home order, yes. But Simon Ekpa has been issuing this order. So when you now read that IPOB is excited about his detention, you wonder what is going on. Who has it been leading? For
me, I think there's division within IPOB. There are those who are loyal to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and I think since the arrest and detention of Nnamdi Kanu, there are some IPOB members who are frustrated with the endless detention of their leader. So they see in Simon Ekpa another leader who could galvanize their own struggle by the prism of their thinking. But who is really Simon Ekpa? I tried to look at who Simon Ekpa is.
Yes. And what did you find out?
Yes, he went to, what surfaced was that he went to Finland in 2007. He learned the Finnish language. He became a master of it. He even served in the Finnish army in a place called Lati, and then when he finished his service, he became a reservist, and then after his, as a reservist, he then moved into the Finnish politics. Finland has a population of 5.55 million people, with 50.6 million of those population.
That's about one local
being women. Exactly. It's a very small, and don't forget, Finland, I think they recently joined NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So Simon Ekpa is also deeply involved in the Finnish politics. And he was able to mobilize people of Southeast extraction in Finland and across, that axis, the European axis, to contribute money. The Finnish police has arrested 5 of them. That is Simon Ekpa himself and 4 others. The 4 others are alleged to be the financiers, provided the funding and all of that. The reason the army and all that will be excited is that if you look at what has been happening in the southeast for some time, a lot of soldiers have lost their life, policemen and our service personnel have been losing their lives.
Businesses
have closed every Monday. People sit at home. So it is good development for Nigeria. For me, it took too long, even for the Finnish authorities to rein in Simon Ekpa. He is their citizen. He's a Finnish citizen. So it is a bit difficult for them, but they needed the cooperation of Nigeria, which was continuously raising these allegations. And I understand the Nigerian government was able to convince the Finnish authorities with documents, with evidence, and then they looked at his social media handle and actually found that Simon Ekpa has been seriously involved in instigating violence related to terrorism in Nigeria. So as it is, we wait to see whether Nigeria will succeed in extraditing, because Finland really do not extradite their citizens. They prefer to try them in their country. So, but if Nigeria is able to pull this through, then they have 2 big fishes, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and himself. That of Nnamdi Kanu, I don't agree with the government that he has to be there. The courts have freed him. Even the ECOWAS court have granted, approved some cost, against the federal government. It is time to actually release Nnamdi Kanu. If the court says he should be released, then I think he should be released. For Simon Ekpa, the trial begins. It is going to be of interest to many Nigerians how it plays out, whether in Finland or in Nigeria.
Let's look at the broader implications. Do you think that this actually brings an end to all of this violence, destruction that we have seen as a result of what Simon Ekpa has been doing far away in Finland? Because he does have loyalists, those who have been carrying out this dastardly act by him. Do you think that this arrest will put a stop, or will he be able to enable the Nigerian security agencies then face their own end here in Nigeria? While Finland has got Simon Ekpa, what about his foot soldiers in Nigeria?
Yeah, my worry is that as it is, IPOB will now we operate without a leader to guide them. Simon Ekpa believes in a violent approach to actualizing, the Biafra struggle, as it were. Now, if you ask me why I think that even the Nigerian state created a fertile ground for the agitation in the southeast. If we have 6 geopolitical regions and all of the other regions have 6 states, and then the southeast has only 5. I see that as a problem, which is a political problem that I think that the Nigerian Senate should have solved. You know, since 1999, when we returned to democracy. Now, beyond even the political structure of the southeast, we also look at the perceived marginalization of that region. If you go to the southeast, you can hardly find federal presence. You know, in that region. Yes, more than 40 or 42 years since the end of the Civil War, when that ended in 1970. The Civil War that lasted between 1967 and 1970, when General Philip Effiong, you know, delivered the surrender instruments to Obasanjo and all of that. So for me, I think that it is time to fully integrate the Southeast. The former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, you know, after the war said that, you know, the 3R reintegration, that is no victor, no vanquish, and then he introduced this reintegration policy. But I do not think that the Southeast has been fully reintegrated. Since the end of the Civil War, we have not seen anybody from the Southeast extraction that have become president of Nigeria. The closest was Peter Obi last year during the general elections, which many people believe that well, he performed very well, but whether he won the elections or not is another subject. For debate, you know, and analysis.
Yeah, I mean, this conversation is endless because there are those who will say the politics of reaching out across the aisle isn't what we have seen so much from the Southeast, and have they been able to galvanize as a region to push for this? And why has it remained this way? Why is it that, you know, they've not been able to consolidate to gain power or to reach power? Is it as a result of, you know, having limited states, the numbers when it comes to, because when it comes to politics, numbers does matter. So is it a matter of numbers or how they play the game? There are those conversations as well when it comes to the Southeast.
I agree with some of those positions that you are pointing out. But for me, I think it is larger than that. If the Igbos are largely Republicans in nature, you know, and then they constitute what I call the population tripod in Nigeria. You have the Yorubas, the Hausas, the Hausa Fulani, as it were, and then the Igbos. They are the 3 major the tribal tripod, you know, as I call them. Whilst the Yorubas are largely Democrats, you know, they are democratic in nature. The northern region, you have a bit of Democrats and Republicans among them. But Igbos are 100% Republicans, very independent-minded people. Nobody can control them. They believe that
they have a mind of their own.
They have a mind of their own, and that was also spoke to, you know, reports coming from the British colonialists when they were pulling out of Nigeria. They described the Igbos as very independent-minded people who cannot be controlled by anybody. I think that has also affected their you know, the way they play politics and all of that. It is Peter Obi that was able to actually reach out across, you know, if you look at his campaign, it gained a wide acceptance across Nigeria, you know, and had a lot of, and with young people. In fact, he also had some significant penetration in the north. And so, but that is the way to go. Like you said, the Igbos need to reach out more, need to build bridges, need to consult more if they want to get the #1 position.
Indeed. Okay, so let's quickly turn to the foreign papers this morning. We'll run through and then maybe have time to discuss one or so. Let's begin this morning with the front page of the Daily Mail. It's very busy, but leads with private sector shrinks after Labour budget, the Daily Mail. Moving on to The Sun, Kate's gift of love, concert reunion with families. Tema Mpakadan Rail Line Commission is the Daily Graphic headline this morning. And ECOWAS deploys observers for December 7 election in Ghana. Weekend, weight loss jab, hospital cases surge after rush to buy slimming drugs online. So people have been taking this jab to lose weight, and they are seeing more people hospitalized, and some people are even dying. Daily Express, disastrous raid on social care, and on his king's On His Majesty's solo service, the king is set to go on a tour. The Mirror also has that story, royal exclusive, king to tour India. Palace prepares for a major trip as Charles gets back to good health. The Times says UK economy takes a hit after Labour tax increases. The Daily Star has the story that says 72 million pounds was spent for a man in a hat to sit in a chair. That's the king. And they query because they said this 72 million should also have gone, it was enough to pay more nurses into the NHS. The Financial Times Weekend says business blames budget for gloom. Richard Reeves is receiving a lot of backlash. The Daily Telegraph says Trump threatens sanctions on ICC. Let's start with Ghana. ECOWAS is sending observers as usual to monitor the December elections. What we see in African elections, I mean, I don't recall anybody covering or monitoring the US elections or the UK elections we just had. But hey, we have a tradition and a custom. So ECOWAS is deploying to that elections very quickly.
Well, what is actually, ECOWAS deploys these observers, they deploy to Nigeria every time, and then the elections still get rigged at the end of the day. So for me, what is the significant impact if you deploy these observers? They write their reports. For me, I see ECOWAS almost like a toothless bulldog. They can't enforce anything. If elections are rigged in Ghana in December, during in the elections in December, say, what will ECOWAS do? The elections that have been rigged in Nigeria, what has ECOWAS done? They write their report. There are no sanctions. So, well, maybe just for the purpose of it is the ritual, the political ritual. You just go there, look at what is happening.
Take away the good,
yes.
The good parts of the elections, and then condemn the bad parts.
Exactly.
Very quickly, Daily Telegraph, Trump is threatening sanctions on ICC. The ICC issued arrest warrant for, the chief prosecutor issued arrest warrant for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Yoav Gallant, and of course Hamas leader, which Israel claims they have killed. Yes. But Trump is saying, you're going to get it.
Well, if you look at Israel and the US, they are traditional allies. And Joe Biden has been saying that the relationship between the United States and Israel is iron cast. That is to say that nobody can do anything about it. And the US is not a signatory to the ICC convention, the Rome Convention. So it's not binding on them. And the US has a law that says that if any of their citizens or any of their ally, anybody they're interested in, is arrested by the ICC, that they can deploy military action, military intervention to free that person. So I'm not surprised. Joe Biden is even a bit mild. By January, when Trump takes over, it is going to be quite tough. And, the U.S. is a major financier of most of the international agencies. So I do not see the ICC. The ICC does not have enforcing power, even though Netherlands have said that, if Netanyahu travels to that country, they are likely going to arrest him. What can the Dutch do when the big dogs are backing? The lesser dogs keep quiet. The U.S. is a big dog.
International politics is interesting. Yeah. I didn't see the U.S. say they will issue sanctions when the same ICC issued an arrest warrant for Russia, Vladimir Putin. Yeah. But now it's the turn of Israel, and they are backing like
Russia, China. They are all competing with the US. Indeed. So it's a game of international politics. Who dictates the power game? Yes. That is just what we are seeing here.
Very fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Igor Akeregha, Mr. Igor Akeregha. Mr. Igor Akeregha, perhaps it's time to get one.
Maybe I'll become a doctor soon. Who knows?
Thank you so much for your analysis. As always, we do appreciate you. Well, that's the much we can take on Daybreak this Saturday morning. Thank you for being here. Up next is the morning show live from our studios in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital. I'm Adesua Omoroan. Good morning.